Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state, Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question.
Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
You're attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
There are two categories of news. Let me take on the first one that has to do with us, CNN. At the beginning of the press conference, Sean Spicer, who's going to be the White House press secretary, suggested that both BuzzFeed and CNN published this dossier full of uncorroborated rumors. That's not true. That's false. CNN never did that. We never provided even one detail from that dossier, except this morning when I said that there was reason to believe that one detail that had been out there because of BuzzFeed was false, involving Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen. So that conflation, whether it's because Sean Spicer misunderstood or some other reason, that's not true. CNN did not do that. What we did was say in our reporting yesterday that broke the story that the intelligence chiefs of the United States, when they briefed President Obama Thursday and President-elect Trump on Friday, provided in their briefing to these two leaders about Russian hacking into the U.S. 2016 election, two pages of a synopsis, and the synopsis was in part based on information in that dossier that was uncorroborated, and the intelligence chiefs had not yet run to ground, but they believed that the source of the dossier was credible and his sources were credible, and they believed that A, the president-elect and the president should know that the Russians were claiming they had compromising information on him, and two, that the Russians were claiming that there were contacts between the Trump camp or Trump orbit and the Russian government or the Russian orbit during the campaign. And that information was provided. No one has disputed that that two-page dossier was in the presentation, that two-page synopsis was in the presentation by the intelligence chiefs to President-elect Trump, to President Obama. We have been asking now for more than half a day, for several hours before we went with the story, for a comment from the Trump campaign. So that's one. And when Mr. Trump went after our own Jim Acosta, saying he's fake news and he isn't going to call for him, what I suspect we are seeing here is an attempt to discredit legitimate, responsible attempts to report on this incoming administration with irresponsible journalism that hurts us all, and the media going forward should keep that in mind. So that's one, just to get that out of the way.
You're referring specifically to BuzzFeed.
Yeah, it's irresponsible to put uncorroborated information on the internet. I can understand why President-elect Trump would be upset about that. I would be upset about it too. It's why we did not publish it and why we did not detail any specifics from it, because it was uncorroborated, and that's not what we do. We are in the business of sussing out what is true and what is false.
Well, Wolf, at the beginning of that news conference, Donald Trump indicated that he was not going to call on me or call on CNN. He sort of pointed at me at one point and then waved his hand as if you're not going to get a question. And then as the news conference went on, as you heard, he was attacking this news organization repeatedly. And I felt it was only fair that if our news organization is going to be attacked, that we get a chance to ask a follow-up question about what Donald Trump was talking about. And fortunately, my colleague Cecilia Vega over at ABC did ask a question that I was going to ask, which is, did Donald Trump have any contacts who were in contact with the Russians in the context of this campaign? She actually did not get an answer on that question. I don't know if you noticed that at the podium, but as he was going to the elevators, we all were asking him again to answer that question, and he said no, that nobody associated with him or his campaign was in contact with the Russians during the context of that campaign. So I do want to pass on that little bit of news along, because he did not answer that question formally during that news conference. I should also tell you that at one point during this news conference, just in the interest of full disclosure, and so everybody knows what's going on and what was happening in the room, after I asked and I guess you might say demanded that we have a question, Sean Spicer, the incoming press secretary, did say to me that if I were to do that again, I was going to be thrown out of this press conference. Of course, Wolf, I had to persist there and try to get that question asked. But in the end, the question was asked, and a lot of questions were asked during this press conference. Donald Trump did provide some answers. As you said, Wolf, he is taking the position that this report that the intelligence community warned him that the Russians might have compromising information on him. He is describing that as fake news, and he's holding to that position.